Royal Rumble 2020 is this Sunday, and it's the first pay-per-view of the new decade. We're going to rewind it back 10 years to talk about our trip to the first pay-per-view of the last decade, the Royal Rumble 2010. What is going on out there, guys? It's your boy Tommy on the spot. Thanks so much for checking us out here on Watch Along Wrestling. If it's your first time checking out the channel, make sure you leave a big thumbs up and subscribe to Watch Along Wrestling for all of your wrestling news and updates. And today, guys, it's actually, we're going to do something a little bit different. If you checked out one of my last videos, myself and my buddy Steve went through the Royal Rumble 2000. Well, today, we're going to fast forward 10 years from that point, and we're going to talk about the Royal Rumble 2010, but it's going to be much more of like a free-flowing type conversation because myself and my guest right here to my left were actually at the Royal Rumble 2010, and my guest is my best friend James. James, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. This is a long time coming, having you on the channel. I'm glad to have you there. By all means, crack open a cold one, guys, if you're watching along at home. And this is one that I'm excited to talk with you about because it's one of the many trips that you and I have gone on to many wrestling shows. In particular, that kind of 2 to 3 year stretch when we went to, seems like every time there's a wrestling show, like within any distance whatsoever that we can get to on the East Coast, we went to it.
Yeah, like Philly, Baltimore, Connecticut.
Yep, it was, we did, I think even just a month or so before this show here, which is the Royal Rumble 2010, we went to the King of the Ring. Actually, that might have been, was King of the Ring 2009 or 2010?
I don't remember.
That was in Philly when Sheamus won. That might have been 2010.
I remember being there live.
Well, Sheamus is champion of this show, so yeah.
Was it the one in Baltimore?
No, it was Philly.
Philly? It was Philly, okay.
It was Philly. But this show here, Atlanta, Georgia, and we're now at a point where, like, we're past that. We're out of college. We're freshly out of college.
Yeah, it was a good time because we didn't have any kind of jobs that, like, stopped us from being able to travel and, like, go somewhere for a weekend, so I miss that. I miss, like, just graduating from college and being able to, like, go to a wrestling show for a week or wherever it was, so.
Yeah, and I remember it was the type of situation that, the job I did have outside of college was the type of job that, like, honestly, I had with the idea of, like, I want to utilize this job to make friends, to go out and drink, and to date women. That's pretty much what I did while having this job. So if something came up, like, I wouldn't even give it a second thought. I would call out and go do my own thing.
And you made some great friends there, including Marvel enthusiast Joe Loftus.
Very true. I did meet him there. And he's been a great friend of mine ever since. And I met my wife there, too.
You did?
I did. So dating the woman there eventually paid off. But it was this particular trip, Royal Rumble 2010, I think, holds a place for me because it's the first time that, like, I traveled via airplane somewhere without my family. And it sounds crazy to think.
I guess I knew that at the time, but I think I remember now that I'm thinking about it, you were kind of nervous on the plane, which I didn't really understand, so.
And really pumped up.
Yeah, we were excited. I don't really remember how it came about. I think you just called me and said, there's a flight to Atlanta that's not that expensive, like, should we go to the Royal Rumble? And yeah. I said, let me think about it, and I think you just booked the flight anyway, so it was, like, kind of a done deal.
I'm pretty sure, I think it was one of these things where we were chatting about it, and I was like, man, it would be so cool to go to a Rumble, to go to another Rumble, because I had gone to the Rumble 2008. That was the first one I had been to. And you were talking about how you'd love to go to a Rumble someday, and I was like, we should totally go, kind of throwing it out there, tongue-in-cheek, and you were like, do you want to do it? Let's just do it. And I think it literally was like, we booked the flight, like, moments later, like, for the next morning out of Newark.
Oh, God, was it Newark?
And we had to then book, and it's something I'm thinking about in thinking about a flight that I may have coming up out of Newark, and we had to buy, like, a long-term parking, where it was, like, $5 a day. You go and leave the car in Newark, New Jersey, in some random parking lot off-site, and I picked you up, and we went to Newark and flew down to Atlanta.
I was wondering, because I don't remember anyone driving us there, so.
No, I think it was me. And I think, did we leave on a Friday or a Saturday?
I don't remember. I just remember that, like, Atlanta was unseasonably cold for what I thought was kind of a warmer city.
Yeah. Oh, it was very cold. And I think it was, I want to say we got down there, I think it was on a Friday, because I think I called out.
Friday, because I feel like there was a couple of days we were down there, so I think it had to have been at least like 3 days or something like that.
I think I did one of my many famous phone calls from the airport. Hey, I'm I'm not feeling great. And then you hear in the background, like, next flight coming from gate 4, and I awkwardly hang up the phone from work. Wouldn't do that these days, but back then, no shame. And that's exactly what we did. I mean, we with no notice, we just went on the trip. And if you remember, we show up, and it is like the entire airport in Atlanta was chock full of wrestling fans.
It was a lot. There was those people who were waiting by the gate, like the furthest point you could go to without a ticket for the wrestlers to come out with their wrestling memorabilia. And I think that's the first time I ever actually seen that before. Yeah. And I didn't know what they were doing, and it really freaked me out that there were people who would, like, spend their whole day there. But I guess I get it. I mean, like, I feel like a lot of them were just eBaying that stuff. But.
Probably. Well, I remember thinking, oh, crap. There's some sort of convention here at the airport, and I didn't even know. And what are the odds? And it turned out, like, we asked someone, like, what are you people doing? And they were like, we just want to thank.
Oh God, I remember that. There was that one crazy man who's like, we just want to thank the wrestlers so much for coming down to the Royal Rumble. It was just, it was a lot.
Far too much, and but it was really funny. And then we ended up going to our hotel, which was like, I booked it. Cheapest hotel, was not the closest, if I remember, down to Atlanta. And I think you had to, like, go into this, like, real seedy part of town in order to get there.
It was, like, on the other side of the tracks in Atlanta. I remember the next year we went back for WrestleMania, and I made it a point that year to book the hotel myself.
You did. You booked the hotel.
It was
because I didn't really have a clue, because it didn't really go anywhere.
It was a really nice, like, Days Inn or something I booked the next year. So, but it was also last minute, so I don't think we had a lot of options. Yeah, I think that there was a lot of, like, sold out hotels because of the fact that the Rumble was in town. So
yeah, it was interesting. It was we get down there, and I remember you wanted to go to the inner city mall, which was like a flea market-y area.
Yeah,
and we didn't know how to get there, so we end up leaving our hotel, and someone comes by and asks, "Hey, you guys from around here?" He knew we weren't because I was wearing a Yankee hat, which is a big mistake. If you ever go in traveling and want to look like a tourist, don't wear your home team hat. This jet hat would not be welcome on the trip to Atlanta. And he sees us. He knows that we're, right out of the hotel. And we say, yeah, we're trying to get down to the inner city market. And he says, all right, let me take you down there, right? He walked us all the way to the inner city market.
I just think that he started following us at some point. I don't know if it was like an agreed upon type situation, but
he definitely took us there because that's why he wanted the tip.
Oh, is that why?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, maybe he was. I think we were walking in a certain direction, and he just kind of decided to get in front of us and say, "Oh, I can take you there." And it was like, yeah. I think we kind of knew where we were going, but.
Well, we went down there, and he's walking in front of me with James, and the two of them are talking, and he's telling you a story about
how when Christy Yamaguchi, Olympic figure skater, came to Atlanta, he spotted her, and nobody else recognized her. And he claimed that Christy Yamaguchi was so happy that someone recognized her that he gave her a kiss on the mouth.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew this man was crazy. I'm like, Christy Yamaguchi is not making out with you, sir. Like,
yeah.
She has better things to do.
Well, and then I start getting worried that we're going to get mugged. So my thought is, while James is talking with this guy, I had like $200 cash in my pocket. Because my first time traveling, I want to make sure I have the cash. I don't know why I was doing this. I should have like done a little research on how to travel. And
brought some traveler's checks with you or something.
I should have, yeah. And so you guys are talking, and I pull out my wallet, and I start to shuffle around the cash so that he won't know I have a lot of money on me. So that if he asks if he can have some money, at the end, I could say I literally have no cash, show him my empty wallet, and have the cash waiting in my pocket. That was my thought process. Problem was, when I did this, he knew that. And so he heard me shuffling, turned around and looked, and you and him both looked at me, and you were both like, "The hell are you doing?" And I was like deer in the headlights, holding this wad of cash, holding this empty wallet, and he was like, "Son, put your cash away." And so I did put my cash away.
I think then he went into a speech about how he didn't want money from us.
Right.
And he was doing this out of the kindness of his own heart, and he's so like just mad and shocked that you could possibly think that he wanted money out of this thing, and then a second later proceed to ask for money.
Right. He's like, "You guys mind throwing me at least one of those 20s?" And at that point, he knows I have 10 of them there, so I couldn't turn around and be like, "Nah, I'm good. No thanks." So I ended up giving him a 20, and it was what it was. At least we figured out how to get to the heart market, which I don't remember being good at all.
No, I think we were there for 2 seconds.
It wasn't very good.
It was no World of Coke.
Mm-mm. which we did get to. I think that was later. I want to say the world. I think after that we were just tired. Went back home and slept like the rest of the day.
I don't remember that first day that well. I remember at some point we did like World of Coke and the Aquarium and like.
Yes.
I feel like, oh yeah, you know what? I'm thinking of the next year because I feel like there aren't really many like Rumble things leading up to it. So yeah, it was probably that Saturday that we did all the rest of that stuff.
Yeah, so I think we went to World of Coke, which is one of my favorite places. I still want to go back there, take my wife there now because I thought it was just awesome. You had your 3D show, you had your ride through like the Coke factory. Very similar to the Hershey's chocolate. Have you ever been to the Hershey's chocolate?
It's a lifelong dream to go to Hershey Park, and I don't know why, but I almost made it this year, but I haven't quite made it to Hershey Park yet.
It's one of my favorite places to go, and World of Coke I thought was awesome.
I mean, it was weird because it was so consumerist, but like it was actually a lot of fun. Like I enjoyed drinking all the sodas from around the world. I'm mad that they don't bottle Beverly for us to buy in the United States.
They should have.
It was delicious.
Well, and so if you guys don't know, so the way World of Coke goes, you go through this whole deal. They show you how it's made. They go through the factory, all this stuff. You go through the rides, everything. Then you get to the end of this, and then you can go around, and it's all the fountain sodas from around the world that Coke owns that are all set up, and you can go with your cup, and they give you like a small little like
a little refillable
cup, and you can just run rampant. And while you're doing this, somebody's on, and they have probably like 50 different Coke products there.
And then the tour guide makes sure to point out, like, make sure y'all try Beverly. That's what we're famous for, Beverly. And that's my impression of someone from Atlanta. So I think that's pretty.
So hopefully we don't offend our buddies over at Talkin' Taker, who I know are down in the Georgia area.
The fine Georgians who watch this show.
Yeah, exactly. But they did that, and we go, and it's just like the craziest little. The worst tasting soda you've ever had in your life. It tastes like that. It tastes like ass.
It was pretty gross.
But it was funny that he's building this up and that everyone takes it and everyone's like miserable. So this leads us to the big Royal Rumble Sunday. And if I remember, we think we did the Aquarium too, but I don't remember too much about it.
It was a nice aquarium.
Yeah,
it was a big aquarium.
Solid.
We walked around Atlanta. I think I made you do some like food stuff in Atlanta, if I remember correctly.
No, we didn't do too much.
That was the next year?
Next year we were ready.
Yeah, those 2 years 2 years blur in my mind. Yeah. So you're right, it was probably the next year.
The next year we were ready to go. That one, we'll do that video probably around WrestleMania season, and that one, we come back to Georgia, and now it's reckless abandon. We know exactly what to do. We had an itinerary. James found every single place of food we wanted to eat, and we were just ready to rock. But in this trip, we were just like deer in the headlights. So we get back to the hotel, and that's when our friend Kevin calls you at like 3 in the morning.
Our friend was, I use the term friend loosely. In case you're watching this, Kevin. Hey, Kevin.
Yeah, exactly.
Haven't seen you in 5 years, but hope you're well.
This might have been the end of the friendship, come to think of it.
I mean, I didn't care. I mean, at the time, it was a lot. But, like, I remember our hotel room was freezing because Atlanta, for some reason, was, like, negative 20 degrees. And our hotel wasn't particularly well insulated. And Kevin calls me, waking me up. And I thought he was trying to prank call me or something, but I guess he was just stoned and he called like somebody else named James and he got his numbers confused. And I remember calling up one of our friends who knew Kevin better than we did and demanding to know if it was his number and like it was a whole thing. It was a lot.
You were very unhappy. And he was like, so apologetic and felt so bad that he had woken you up. But
I mean, it was 3:30 in the morning, so I think that it was a lot, but like in retrospect, it's not really that big of a deal. But
yeah, but it was that was something we remembered. Then we get into the kind of the CNN Tower type complex. If you've ever been to Atlanta, if you go to CNN, that little area where the CNN Tower is, where you can go do the studio tour, is like the mecca of all things the live event, because it's connected to the Phillips Arena, or what used to be the Phillips Arena, I don't know if it still is. And so when you go there, it's like they have like a mall inside of there, little gift shops,
a food court.
You could stay there. There's a hotel there.
There's the first time I tried Chick-fil-A was the food court at the whatever that area was.
Really?
Yeah.
And so we go, and now everyone, this is Royal Rumble Sunday, everyone's amped up. And people are telling stories to us about how they bumped in, they saw like Jimmy Wang Yang eating with Tyson Kidd over like nearby, and that they were going to be in the Rumble. And then we find...
Oh yeah, everyone had like crazy rumors. They're like, "Oh, I saw Mick Foley. Mick Foley's gonna be in the Rumble."
Yeah. It was, and then we saw the masseuse, the magic man with the magic hands.
Oh my god!
And he's telling you like the most.
I still have his business card somewhere that he gave us, like just because I keep those things. in case I need a massage.
Or in case, it's a good souvenir too.
Souvenir.
For the longest time I had the Royal Rumble shirt for this. I was looking for it. I don't know if I sold it at some point or it's just somewhere missing in some house somewhere. Maybe back where my mom's house is or something. But I do not know where this shirt is. I looked for it. It was basically the exact poster of the show. So when you see John Cena standing in front with all the wrestlers standing around the side of him, I did have that shirt, and then the back of it had your match card on it. But it was a situation where he was telling us every single person, Hulk Hogan was going to be there, this guy was going to be there, people who hadn't showed up ever. I think they thought RVD was coming back at the time. And the big rumor, and I still remember this to the day, was that Jeff Hardy was going to be returning because there was some loophole. If you remember, this is during the time when Bret Hart returns to WWE. Beginning of 2010, first Raw, January 4th. Bret Hart finally returns to WWE, and TNA is going against WWE head-to-head.
Crazy time.
They brought their Impact show to go to that period of time. And one of the situations that I thoroughly remember was that there was a big rumor... Give me that beer for a second, that Jeff Hardy was going to show up because he had just showed up at TNA, but he was on he didn't have a full contract with them, so there was a rumor that WWE was going to go and try to bring him in. Ended up not happening. But I remember getting there and just being really excited that we were in there. And I remember making some remark to you that I can't imagine anybody paying $12 for DX glow sticks, which were essentially just regular Dollar Tree glow sticks or Party City glow sticks that were green. You'd crack them open and then you'd have two of them. But at the time, Shawn Michaels and Triple H were selling these like crazy. And as we went in, it was every single person had a pair of glow sticks.
Yeah, it was interesting. And looking at the lineup now for who actually was in the Rumble that year, there really weren't many surprise entrants. I feel like the next year... Was the next year Boston? Mm-hmm. I feel like that year...
Which went to as well.
Yeah, I mean, there was 40 entrants, but I feel like that year there was a ton of surprise entrants.
Yeah.
So I feel like there was only really one in the year that we went to the Rumble. So.
Yeah, I think the only one, obviously, was Edge.
Yeah.
If we go through a little bit of the card, some interesting stuff here. So this show, first match on the show card is Christian, and I just watched the show earlier today, so this is not like I have memorized the Royal Rumble 2010 card. Christian took on Ezekiel Jackson, who was led to the ring by William Regal, and the only thing I remember about Ezekiel Jackson was he had this really great entrance music that was, this is what you call domination. And that was the only thing I remember about him.
Good entrance music makes an impact.
Yeah. And Christian ends up keeping the ECW title. ECW would be around for exactly 2 more days. 2 days after this show, Vince McMahon showed up on ECW and announced the brand would be defunct in a couple of weeks, and that is when they introduced NXT. But it was more of the game show style that Wade Barrett won, and Daniel Bryan was introduced kind of to the WWE universe. So this is the final show for the ECW brand that was reestablished in 2006 in WWE.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
It's
stuff.
crazy knowing that ECW just didn't really work for them and how much of a success NXT has become for the company. So,
yeah.
I mean, maybe not originally in the format they introduced it in, but...
Well, that led to the Nexus and that whole deal. Yeah. And Daniel Bryan's first established guy there, and then Ryback got his start in that group, and Wade Barrett eventually would get... he'd get his start there. Bray
Wyatt won that season, the first one.
Wade Barrett won, yeah.
Yeah.
Bray Wyatt was in the second season, so there was some stuff.
It had talent. Just saying, that format was a little strange.
It was very weird.
It was just strange because I feel like what they sold it as was being a fan driven, and then I feel like fans wanted Daniel Bryan. Somehow he didn't. They kind of found a way to eliminate him.
Right away. I think it was first night of eliminations. He got eliminated.
I feel like AJ not winning the women's one a few years later was kind of suspect.
Yeah.
I don't even remember who won that season. It's just
I don't remember either.
Someone, I don't know.
It was weird. Very, very weird. But next match out there, if I remember correctly, was a throwaway. It was Miz and MVP. But one thing I remember specifically about this show was the amount of backstage segments that really kind of make the Rumble what it is. Your segments where wrestlers are going and they're picking their numbers or they're talking about where they're going to be there. And there's a particular backstage segment with Crime Time and Teddy Long, where Teddy Long starts to break it down for Crime Time and starts to sing a song that was very popular at the time. Do you know what song I'm talking about? Do you remember?
Was it Pants on the Ground?
It was Pants on the Ground. Great memory.
I just feel like it's burned into my mind.
Yeah. That was the only time. So that, American Idol Just 10 years? Is it still in the air now?
I mean, yeah, they had it back this season. I think Katy Perry and some other people who were on it. I forget, but yeah, it came back this year. But it's been on pretty continuously. So back then they actually had like a cultural impact. Like they had,
big time. Yeah, like it was like huge. And the Pants on the Ground saga was that one of the guys who auditioned was like a civil rights leader, and an older guy came on there.
Was he a civil rights leader?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, he's like a civil rights activist or civil rights leader. And he was an older guy, and he got up there, did this Pants on the Ground, and for like a month, in the month of January 2010, this was everywhere. This was like, I remember Brett Favre doing it in the locker room for the Vikings. Everywhere you went, it was Pants on the Ground. My father absolutely loved it, so I remember this very well. And at that Royal Rumble, Teddy Long was telling Crime Time that they looked like fools with the pants on the ground.
Something about Pants on the Ground never sat well with me. It felt like, some older dude judging, the younger generation for like the way they were wearing their clothes or whatever. Like, I don't know, it was a little weird. But I mean, a lot of stuff coming out of American Idol was weird.
Very weird. Very Sanjaya, William Hong.
Yeah, all the
stuff.
stranger stuff. There was that one woman, like something Roach. She was like, I don't remember, like she was like one of the most infamous like bad auditions. Everyone should like Google her. She was great. Mary Roach, I think.
Mary Roach?
Yeah.
We one of the things I remember before we get to the two title matches that you were very unhappy about was the portrayal of Mickie James.
They buried her, right?
They did. Well, they were building. So the story goes that the rumor had it that John Cena and Mickie James were involved in some sort of relationship, and
weren't they though in real life?
They were.
Yeah.
And then they broke up. And John Cena ends up getting married.
Was that the Piggy James thing that was happening?
So yeah,
oh, that's rough.
They started making these. Mickie James starts getting buried by WWE. At this point, they start with the Piggy James storyline that was like really offensive, especially because like Mickie James was like really in great shape and hot as all can.
It's also just weird because Mickie James was one of the more talented female wrestlers they had in that era of like women, and I just feel like I think she should be like almost at the level of a Trish Stratus, where her legacy should be better than I think what she's remembered for. Like she was a great wrestler.
Yeah, she was, and she's in this whole deal with Lay Cool. But the good news is she did beat Michelle McCool for the title in like 20 seconds and got retribution.
I didn't realize that. That was like her beating. Oh, good for her. Good, that's nice.
Yeah.
Nice,
so.
happy.
The title matches on this show leave a little to be desired. First one is Sheamus.
I don't remember that match at all. I guess because it was 20 seconds.
It was 20 seconds. I remember you being very happy that you were like, I hate that we even have to see, because this is before the women were like actually a part of the show. So I think you were like, I hate that we even have to see this match now, and I'm ready to get to the Rumble and the title matches. And then it was kept short and sweet, and you were...
I'm thrilled. I can't be happier with the Women's Revolution that's happened in WWE. I feel like they finally, got to the place they should with some of their female talent. I feel like it had been years coming, so I mean, it's great.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%, and it's exciting that now little girls can aspire to be a WWE superstar as opposed to like
and be one of the biggest talents in the company, like your cousin Becky Lynch.
my kayfabe cousin, I guess.
A distant cousin.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it absolutely is great. Title matches on the show leave a little to be desired. Sheamus is your world champion here. This is like, do you remember Sheamus' world title run? His first one?
It was not great. I remember
it was really, it was...
Was he facing Orton in this?
He was facing Randy Orton. And he, match doesn't go very far. It's really just used as a vehicle to kind of further the split between Ted DiBiase and Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton.
It's weird because I really kind of like Sheamus in his current iteration of being in the bar. I think him and Cesaro were
well, he just came back. Now he's single again.
No, bad idea. I feel like Cesaro's an unsung hero, though. He's a great wrestler.
Oh, he's great. Yeah.
I remember watching him from 10 feet away in a Connecticut bingo hall.
Yeah, for sure. At what was that when we went to go see Daniel Bryan and Karma?
Yeah,
he was on the show. Yeah. It was Evolve Wrestling's first or second show we went to, so that was cool. But it ends up being, and I really want to say that was not too long after this show, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I think it was around the same time frame of 2009, 2011, somewhere between those few years.
And those few years, it was like literally we went to as many wrestling shows as we possibly could.
I mean, Ring of Honor back then was still fantastic. It had all the biggest stars in WWE were at Tyler Black.
Yep. Yeah, Seth Rollins. Kevin Owens was Kevin Steen.
El Generico,
Sami Zayn. You had a lot of different big stars in the wrestling business today were a part of Ring of Honor back then. So, but we end up getting back to the show. Undertaker and Rey Mysterio, which was a really kind of interesting type of kind of dream match scenario. Undertaker gets the win, and he kind of was hobbling here. And I remember really thinking 2010 was time for Taker to hang up the boots. And here we are in 2020, and he's still wrestling to this day.
Well, I mean, but he's not there every week, at least. He's like, you know, they bring him out for whatever.
Well, this leads us to the Royal Rumble, and I'll never forget this because the young girl sitting next to us.
There was a little girl next to us.
Yeah.
And was she like an edge mark?
She was like a mark. She knew every storyline.
Yeah.
She knew every single thing going on. She knew like everything. Like we didn't really watch.
She knew more than me because at the time I still liked wrestling, but I wasn't watching ECW. I wasn't watching SmackDown much. I watched Raw here and there. I watched all the pay-per-views, but like I wasn't as invested as that little girl was. She was like what I was at her age, like 10 years old maybe, like fully watching everything on TV, superstars, like Sunday Night Heat. Like, so this girl was like tuned in. She was like,
she knew everything, and she had asked me who my pick to win the Royal Rumble was before things got started, and I said Matt Hardy, because at the time Matt Hardy was my favorite wrestler, and I was really hoping that Matt would get to that next level. And she was like, Matt Hardy? Are you kidding me? Matt Hardy sucks. And I was just like,
I feel like you were very offended by that.
Very upset. And then Matt Hardy came in and lasted all of 20 seconds.
I think my pick was Jericho, and I feel like she was a little bit, you know, a little more positive with that choice, but I forget who her choice.
Well, everybody, the big story going into this was that everyone wanted Shawn Michaels to win. Because if he won, that was going to be his opportunity to go and get a rematch with The Undertaker. And he is like the favorite going in, but another big favorite and kind of the part of the Rumble that I remember and really enjoyed and enjoyed even just watching it back today was CM Punk as the master and the leader of the Straight Edge Society. That he comes in and he's beating everybody in the Rumble. He has the quote-unquote diesel spot where he gets in there at number 3, eliminates, I think it was Ziggler and Evan Bourne that started off. He eliminated both of them.
He had 5 eliminations.
Yeah, 5 eliminations. And it ends up going to a point where probably, I remember your favorite part of it. So do you remember your favorite part of the Royal Rumble this year? Because I remember being there live and you really enjoyed it.
I remember a lot of confusing parts. I remember when Zack Ryder came out and I had no idea who he was because I didn't watch ECW. And then you reminded me he was one of the edge heads and it kind of clicked on everything. But it was kind of before his YouTube days. What was my favorite part? Remind me, like
when Beth Phoenix came out.
Oh yeah, I mean, I always appreciate a woman being in the Rumble. Like big ups to China, R.I.P. I love when Karma came out, like
a couple years later, right?
Yeah, I mean, like it's weird because I don't know if we'll see that again because of the fact that there's a women's Rumble now.
Right.
But
Nia Jax was in last year.
I was gonna say, I was about to say, I could see Nia Jax being in it.
Yeah,
she's like an exception. So.
She was the number 30 big surprise.
Is she injured right now?
She is.
Okay,
she is. But yeah, Beth Phoenix comes out. She ends up eliminating the Great Khali. No. Well, Nia was number 30.
Oh, so the Nia's number 30.
The crowd like crapped all over it.
That's an interesting choice, but I remember Beth Phoenix coming out. That was good.
Yeah, Beth Phoenix came out, eliminates the Great Khali. So that I guess was kind of a surprise too.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think anyone expected because I don't think Karma had happened yet. So it had just been China who'd been in the Rumble. So I don't think anyone really expected there was ever going to be another woman to enter. So
no, and she comes in. Punk legitimately hits her with the go to sleep, and of course that's interesting because Beth Phoenix and CM Punk the year after were dating. So
it's also interesting because Beth Phoenix eventually married Edge,
right? Who wins this Royal Rumble?
Yeah.
So it's all pretty cyclical in this deal here. So I thought that was really fun, and a couple parts of the Royal Rumble that I remember and really enjoyed. There's one part where you have DX in there. They clear house. Triple H saves Shawn Michaels, keeps him in the ring because Shawn again is trying to go after Undertaker. Cena, so then it's just DX and they're coming like nose to nose, face to face. They're about to fight each other. Next entry is Cena. He comes in. Cena and Triple H, Shawn Michaels lay out Cena, and then Shawn eliminates Triple H, which I thought was
good for Shawn.
It was I enjoyed it. That was pretty great. Obviously, Edge comes out at the end. He wins. What was your memories, I guess, of Edge coming back, and I guess of this Rumble in general?
I mean, I was always an Edge fan. I remember from the beginning of his career in the Brood. I remember that one match he was in with Sable in that like mixed tag match. Like I remember following him from the beginning, and I was a big Edge fan. But like I hadn't followed continuously through the years as much as you did, so I was really happy to see him back, and I was thrilled that he won. I feel like I wasn't expecting Edge to come back. I thought he was still injured.
Right.
It was good. I feel like out of all the Rumbles that I've seen live, which may be 2, that was the one I was really happy about. But even the ones I remember watching, I feel like Edge was you feel good watching Edge win the Rumble. Yeah. I feel like it was deserved. He had paid his dues. It didn't feel premature. It didn't feel like they were jumping the gun with anything. So it was good. I think everyone in that arena was thrilled for Edge.
Yeah, him coming back was seen as big. And I remember the kind of cool little twist they gave, because Cena came back 2 years earlier at number 30. So throughout the whole match, you're kind of following along with like all the announced participants. And there's one that is not there. So you're assuming it's going to be number 30, but Edge was number 29.
Who do you think was coming in there that didn't show up? Is there anyone you expected?
I think they announced somebody, but it was like a lame... I really think it was like... I want to say it was Tyson Kidd, if I'm not mistaken. I remember him like tweeting something afterwards about not actually being in the Rumble. Or maybe Jimmy Wang Yang, because maybe everyone said they saw him in
sometimes they do last minute cuts. They kind of like give people like notice the day of the day before, so...
Yeah.
And they switch things around. I remember Batista coming in number 30, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people expected him to win.
Yeah, well, he was being built up as like your heel at the point. A lot of rumors that he was going to face John Cena at WrestleMania. He would. They'd really change everything around come Elimination Chamber. Your champions after this show are Sheamus and Taker. Elimination Chamber comes. Taker loses the belt to Jericho due to outside interference from Shawn. Sheamus loses his chamber match. Cena wins that one, and then Vince McMahon brings out Batista. Batista challenges Cena at that minute and wins the title. So they did a lot of changes from Royal Rumble to WrestleMania that year, but it all worked out in the end. That's a pretty solid WrestleMania, and this gave us a really cool deal, like on the road to WrestleMania, which is what Royal Rumble's supposed to do.
I mean, it was a good Rumble. I feel like it was one of the more enjoyable Rumbles of that period of time.
Well, this leads us to after the Rumble, because our story doesn't end here. After the Royal Rumble, we
check out of our fantastic hotel.
No.
Oh, no.
Oh, we get back to the hotel, and we are on our way. We're considering going to go get something to eat at this diner. But James was tired. He was like, I just want to go back to bed.
We were both tired.
We were both pretty tired, but I at the time was like, I went downstairs to read like whatever like news was coming out of the Royal Rumble, so I was in the business center of the hotel. James was like going to bed, and a father and son walk in, and they're decked out in bright orange John Cena gear, like the whole nine. They had hats, they had shirts, they had the armbands. And I said, you guys go to the Rumble. Now, of course, we're in Atlanta, Georgia. These two come in dressed as John Cena. I'm asking if they went to the Rumble. If they didn't, something really weird is going on. But I asked them, they're like, yeah, what a great show. And they're like, you're not going to believe this. Check this out. Dad pulls out his phone. He's like, look who we just met. And it was at that diner we were considering going to. And it was Edge, Dolph Ziggler, and Nikki Bella. Nikki Bella was in the dark match on the show, and she at the time was in a relationship with Dolph Ziggler. And they had gotten photos with them. And I remember calling James and waking him up and calling him and saying, you're not going to believe this, telling him that story. And you had a great line that said, other than making me feel like crap, what is the point of you calling me and telling me?
It's true. It's like, now that I'm remembering it, I'm like, I feel like, though you did use that story to guilt me for a year until we came back to Atlanta for WrestleMania the next year.
Well, what ends up happening there is we leave, we check out of our hotel, we're in a cab before we even get to the cab, I wake James up with some heartbreaking news that Jack Briscoe has passed away. And James gets really upset, and he's just like, I can't believe Jerry Briscoe died. Like, he was such an integral part of the Attitude Era thing. Raw's going to be devastating tonight. I was like, no, not Jerry, his brother Jack. And James went, no, at least it wasn't Jerry. And, Jack Briscoe, obviously an older wrestler from way back, way before our time, but it came out. And so we check out of our hotel, we get into our cab, we're passing by literally the Georgia Dome, which has now been rechristened, but it's a complete new building now. But when we were passing by, and as we're passing, we hear on the radio, huge wrestling news today, and this was something they had done a couple times where they'd do this, you'd go to the Rumble, and then at the Rumble they would announce that next year the WWE is returning to that place for WrestleMania. And they're like, great news out of WWE this morning. It was announced that Atlanta has won the right to WrestleMania. There'll be a press conference there that morning, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And James looks at me.
I remember you were just trying to be like,
it's pumped up.
And I was like, fuck, I have to come back to Atlanta again next year, so great.
Well, but you had said, you're like, I'll tell you what, we will come back next year to Atlanta.
And you can go to your diner.
And we'll stick around through Raw. You have the whole plan set up. You're like, we'll stick around through Raw the night after because they do the WrestleMania party the night after WrestleMania. And then after Raw, we'll go back to that diner, and I bet we'll see somebody. And that is a story for another time. We'll have to pick that one up.
We did see some people.
We did see some people. Everything the way that it was mapped out for a trip to WrestleMania, but that is a cliffhanger that will leave you guys for next time. But before we get out of here, James, anything else you want to add about the trip down to the Royal Rumble? It was fun reminiscing with you, and anything else that you would like to say?
I don't know. I mean, like, it's kind of a blur. I feel like it was a really quick couple of days.
I think at that point, it was my goal to go to every single Rumble. I think that was like, we went back the next year.
I feel like the Rumble is the most fun thing to watch live. More so than even WrestleMania. I feel like there's something about the Rumble and, like, counting people down, not knowing who's going to enter.
Every single time. I mean, I remember last year going 2019 to Arizona. What am I in? But we went to Arizona, and literally every single one, 2 different Rumbles, 60 different times, or I guess 56 different times you're counting down every number. And my wife and I jumping out of our seats and waiting to look down the aisle to see like who's coming down next. And like that feeling is just so exciting, and it's a lot of fun. And do you remember the next pay-per-view we went to after this? In 2010.
In 2010, I'm trying to think. Was it in Baltimore?
It was, yes.
Okay, that was the Baltimore one.
Yeah, it was WWE Extreme Rules 2000. We took the trip from New York to Baltimore.
Was Jack Swagger headlining that?
Jack Swagger was headlining. He was on the shirt of the show, which I have since either thrown away or sold.
That's a collector's item. Jack Swagger merch, worth a lot of money now.
Check 1, 2. And, April 26, 2010, right out of the Baltimore First Mariner Arena, which I just returned to for AEW a month or so ago. You guys can take a look in the archives for that live vlog. But that's going to do it and wrap it up here today. Thanks for coming, James. Hopefully this is the start of many different times we'll be able to connect and talk about our trips and everything that we remember. But this was a very good time. If you guys have ever been to a Royal Rumble, since it is Royal Rumble weekend, make sure you let me know how that went in the comment section below. If you're down in Houston right now, let me know as well. And that's going to do it. So until next time, everybody, thanks a lot for coming, James.
No problem.
And we'll see you guys in a bit. Until next time, everybody, take care, and we'll see you in the next video.